Greetings everyone. Okay, so today I want to bring another subject which has caused a lot of strife and debate. I've been watching a few debates based upon the concept of God and evolution by people such as Richard Dawkins, Ravi Zacharias, William Lane Craig and other people like Sam Harris. And the main concept is that theists believe in intelligent design while atheism believes in the fact that we did not come from intelligent design.
Do you believe in intelligent design? Of course not.
Now, in my personal search for the answer to life, the subject of intelligent design came across my way, and it never really sunk into my mind to understand that we came by unintelligence, by chance, and yet be able to explain it. So though there's a lot of overwhelming evidence for the concept of intelligent design, I'm not going to talk about the God of the Bible, I'm not going to talk about God himself, but I'm just going to simply talk about the basis of logic. Now I want to bring to view an experience that one of my friends had when he had a little debate with this atheist about the concept of God and also the concept of evolution. And it wasn't about who's a true God or how do we come as such, but it was just based upon the logic of evolution and God. Now my friend had his points and the atheist had his points, and they'll literally battle on for weeks and weeks and weeks on end with points that they had and the points that he had as well. Now it wasn't really going anywhere because the more that was said left doors open for other things that could be debated about, and once that was opened up then other subjects came in and then that came in and then this came in, and then you get the point. So my friend stopped the whole argument, or he stopped the whole debate, and he said, okay, let's just go directly to the foundation of what we're talking about. So my friend said to the person, listen, you're an intelligent person, but yet you came by chance. Is that logical? Take this phone for example. With this phone I can make a phone call, I can even write a text message to somebody who's halfway across the world. I can make emails, I could even make videos and do other things with this phone. And I'm sure you would say that this phone is designed. Another example you could say is walking into somebody's home and looking at a very nice painting on the wall. And normally you would ask, wow, who painted that picture? But now this is what is so interesting, because we as human beings, though we are the designer of these items such as the phone and the painting, it's funny that we are not designed. What's even more strange is that because we understand that a phone is intelligently designed, a painting is wonderfully painted, we as human beings with unique functioning brains and also functioning bodily systems are not designed, though everything works in perfect order. But yet we find it may be strange or a malfunction in our bodily system if somebody is born disabled, yet we're not intelligently designed. I mean, if we simply just look at the way our bodies are functioned, everything's structured in its way, one can only wonder. Let's look at the human eye for example. The tears in our eyes work as a natural defense from things like dust, dirt, etc. Even the way the pupil and the lens in our eyes focus in order to get a correct picture. And yet we're able to make devices like cameras from the idea of the human eye. For example, it's also been said that when our eyes are being formed in the womb, millions of connective nerves right next to the optic nerve connects to the right ports in our eyes. Just like plugging in millions of plugs but in the right socket at once. Perfectly. Now just for time's sake, that's just one example, but I'm sure you know where I'm coming from. So I'm throwing this question out for people who believe that we did not come through intelligent design. A phone is intelligently designed. I mean, we can break it apart, we can get the screen, we can get the buttons, we can get the battery, etc. We can break down the human body and we have items such as our hearts, the brain, the liver, the kidney, the lungs, the rib cage, everything that makes the body work perfectly. So I just want to know if anybody can explain this, because I cannot see the logic. Now, as I said from the beginning of this video that I'm not going to use the Bible or God to explain this concept of intelligent design, but I'm going to use reasonable explanations on the possibilities, because we're dealing right at the foundations. Now, some of you who watch my videos, you may have seen me post a video of this man named Finley who gave a very practical, thoughtful reasoning on the concept of intelligent design, and we believe that designer to be the God of the Bible. He was invited to speak at this university and he was asked some questions by several students, and some of the students said that, well, we can't see God, so how can you say that he's true? Mark Finley answers in a very reasonable explanation. Notice what he says.
Pastor Finley, I want to know, have you personally seen God? And if you haven't, how can you believe? We don't believe. You know, the Bible says that God will give you answers you've never thought about before. And the Lord gave me an answer that I had never thought about until that moment. I said, may I ask you a question? But I really don't want to ask you. I'd like to ask the faculty. This is one of the most prestigious universities in all of Hungary. And I know that your faculty has PhDs from a variety of disciplines, and your faculty is very honest. So I want to leave God out and faith out and the Bible out, and I just want to ask the faculty some questions, then I'll come back and answer your question. He said, fine. So now, faculty, of all the knowledge in the world, how much knowledge do your students have? Let me give you an example. There are well over 2,000 spoken languages in the world. In the country of New Guinea alone, there are 700 dialects. Let's suppose we have a quiz right now and give your students dialects, a quiz on dialects. How many of the 700 dialects in New Guinea could your students speak? Another question. Let's suppose we gave your students a quiz on the 13th Ming dynasty of China and the 58 emperors in the 13th Ming dynasty and all of their wives and the names of their children. Let's suppose that there are 10,000 new books printed a day. How many of have your students read? Of all the knowledge of biochemistry in the world, do your students know 95% of all the biochemistry knowledge? Do they know 90% of all the biochemistry knowledge, 50%? Take histology. Of all the knowledge of histology in the world, and I said, let's say that knowledge is a body of 100%. Would you say that your students know 90% of all there is to know in the world? They said, no. I said, just intellectually, did they know 50% of all there is to know? No. Did they know 20% of all there is to know? Of all this great body of knowledge, of every fact and knowledge in the world, let's say your students know 5%. Just from an intellectual standpoint, they said, well, Dr. Finley, they don't know 5%, but I'm going to give them 5%. If your students know 5% of all there is to know, it means that they don't know 95% of all there is to know. Intellectually, is that a good argument? Yeah, if you know 5%, you don't know 95%. Now let me ask you my next question. If by your own admission your students only know 5% of all there is to know, could it be possible that God exists in the 95% of the knowledge they don't have? Is that possible? I looked at those faculty members and they said, Dr. Finley, that's possible.
So as I end this video, the question really must be asked between each and every one of us. Did we come by design or did we come by accident? Logically, I'm sure you can agree with me on this, that a design comes from a designer. And the point of the matter is we just need to know who that designer is. And as Mark Finley said, if you don't even know 5% of the knowledge of all there is in this world, how can you claim that there is no God in the other 95% that you don't know of? And this brings us to the next point of who is that true designer. Many people have different views, different opinions, different beliefs. But the question is, who is true? Now, I said that I'm not going to use the Bible, but I think just for now, I believe it's reasonable because I believe that this verse that I'm about to present shows how God proves himself to be the true designer of mankind. And the reason why I want to use this verse is because I've personally examined, I've studied it out, and I've also experienced what this verse is trying to tell us. Remember the former things of old, for I am God and there is none else. I am God and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. In other words, I can tell you what's going to happen before it even happens. I guess the only question we can ask is, do we have any evidence for this? And I can say clearly, yes. Now, if you personally want to know about the evidence that I've seen, studied, and tested, you can click over here, and this will show you each and every step showing exactly why I came up to this conclusion that the God of the Bible is true, not just on the basis of him being the true God, but also the true designer. And I also haven't forgotten that if you're able to explain how we came from unintelligence, I'll be happy for you to write your whatever you need to say in the description box below, because I'm very interested to know how this thing can be logical. So for now, thank you very much for watching this video. I know that some of these subjects can go on forever, but I hope that everything has made sense thus far. But we need to make sure that we're not following the popular demand, but we're actually living and studying and actively thinking these things out for ourselves. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and also leave your comments explaining how we came from unintelligence if you're able to. Okay, God bless. Bye for now.